Welcome to the October 19th Board of Selectmen meeting. If everybody would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I gave you a nice one.
We're going to make that a Christmas present for you.
Can we just
Well, good evening and welcome. First matter of business today is public notice of public hearing. Waterboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, October 19th at 6 p.m. To receive comment regarding contract zone requests for MAP 5 49-1, MAP 550, and MAP 551. Public hearing will be aired on the local cable channel 5 or 1302 and live streamed on the town's website. And if we have any questions, those can be emailed to waterboro@waterboromaine.gov. Will we receive any comments? So I will open this up. Just a quick background. We've been, this is the second public hearing that the board has held. Was also a public hearing that was held by the planning board. This is really deals with adjusting the zoning in and around the and it's called a contract zone that was requested by David Elves and his corporation. We have had planning board has had a review. We had a little hiccup last public hearing that we had because there were two different versions of the contract that were published. We believe that has now been resolved. And I will tell you that there was two changes. One was to add the commercial endeavors that you plan in the zone, and the other one was to eliminate any reference to other people's property that could be used for public access in the future. So those were the items that were taken out. So I will open this up to any public comment. Is there any comment that you folks want to make with regard to the project?
Hi. Not at this time.
Okay. Any other public comment?
You ready for public?
Yep.
Yep.
We drew straws to see who had to go first. My name's Vicki Edgerly. I live at 64 Everett Lane. I'm going to apologize in advance because I will be repeating things you've heard before, but since the last public meeting things were askew, I want to be sure everything's on the record. I must say that I think the most basic issue at hand is the request to create a special contract zone when it is absolutely unnecessary. A contract zone can be a very useful tool when used properly. In areas where there is a housing shortage, not enough land available, or a specific type of facility that will benefit the community, it can prove to be valuable. However, that is not the case here. Waterboro has over 57 square miles of land. There's plenty of room for developments that fall within the standard zoning ordinance within the designated village zones. The proposed development would cram 36 apartments into space designed for no more than 16 homes, as well as 3 commercial buildings. This would create a problem for the community, as residents would not have space for outdoor activities. This was alluded to in Section D of an earlier version of the contract zone agreement, where the town was requiring an easement to private land for the purpose of public access and recreation. And I do want to thank you for listening to us and for taking that section out of it. I'm rather confused as to why this development is even being considered. The developer seems to be completely ignoring the work done by members of this community who have expended a great deal of time and energy into developing a comprehensive plan and a strategic plan entitled A Vision for Waterboro Villages, which defines the locations of 4 village districts. The boundaries to the envisioned village district in the East Waterboro area are clear. The possibility of this contract zone being approved is of great concern, as it seems to completely disregard the recommendations made in the document, A Vision for Waterboro Villages, which states in its observations that, quote, according to the Maine Department of Natural Resources, an ecological buffer encompasses more than half of the quarter-mile radius of the proposed village center. The buffer does need to be delineated before future development is planned. I haven't seen anything anywhere that suggests that that buffer zone has been delineated. It also states that the ecological buffer severely constrains this center and creates a limited area where build-out is appropriate. So again, you need to look at that plan, research that buffer zone, make sure that we're not developing in areas that are going to affect the streams and brooks, wetlands, wildlife. We have to pay attention to that to keep this town the town that it is now. The subject of sidewalks was also discussed at the planning board meeting, and rightfully so. Anybody who spends time in this area knows that Route 202-5 is dangerous for pedestrians and cyclists. The Vision for Waterboro Villages states in its implications that the lack of sidewalks coupled with high vehicle traffic creates a less than desirable environment for walking, and that driving is discouraged because destinations are disconnected. The lack of crosswalks makes crossing the street unsafe. And that's quoted directly from your plan. The developer explained quite honestly that the cost of creating a sidewalk from the proposed site to the traffic light would be prohibitive. That being the case, I think we all know that the first time a child is killed while walking along this stretch, the town would decide that sidewalks are imperative and then would incur the financial burden of figuring out how to create sidewalks. I was quite dismayed when the memo to the select board from the town planner stated in regards to the planning board meeting on October 5th that 5 people spoke neither for nor against the contract zone. This is absolutely incorrect, as I know I spoke and asked specifically that the zone be denied, and I believe that the others who expressed their opinions were also in opposition. I know that the minutes to that planning board meeting have not yet been published. Apparently they have to be approved tomorrow night before they'll be published. I don't know when you folks see them, but before you go any further and make any decisions, I wish that you would get the minutes to that meeting and know what was discussed at that planning board meeting. Because
I watched the meeting.
Thank you. We're looking at a situation where a developer purchased property with a plan to develop before ensuring that the project he wants to create falls within the current zoning restrictions. This, in my mind, is very poor planning on behalf of the developer. The town is under no obligation to change rules to fix his problem. Approving this contract zone would only set precedent for others who think that they can do the same. As I said earlier, when a contract zone is created or exceptions are made to the zoning ordinances, there should be something unique about the situation. There are times when a longtime resident has fallen upon hard times and exceptions should be considered. And as I said earlier, when there is a specific need that is to be addressed that will benefit the community as a whole, consideration is due. That's not what's happening in this case. If the developer is interested in helping to improve the community by developing housing and commercial space, he can do that. His land is zoned for both. But he needs to go with what is allowed, just as any of the rest of us must. My take is that if this is approved, it will be a detriment to the community. Please leave our agricultural zone alone. Please respect the current rules. We live in the country, in small town America. We live here by choice. We like this. It's not that we don't want things to change and grow and improve, but we want them to be done in such a way that we don't lose this lovely little community in the process. Please let this community progress in a manner that retains the small town charm. Please just say no to this contract zone. Please take time to step back, review and update if necessary the comprehensive plan and the Waterboro Villages document. Please send a message to those wanting to develop in this community that they must adhere to our requirements. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Stacy Walker. I live on 21 Everett Lane in East Waterboro.
Yes, at least.
Okay, I want to repeat myself from last meeting and the meeting before that. I am against the rezoning of this small agricultural section in East Waterboro, as well as any rezoning of agricultural areas on the Hollis and Lyman side heading in and out of East Waterboro. Remember, you guys consider this the gateway into Waterboro, so therefore we want to keep its rural aesthetic view as possible instead of a congested little funnel to go into Waterboro. Because believe me, I've been to other towns. I know which ones have been planned thoughtfully, and those that have not been planned, they were retrofitted to meet developers' needs or a fast growth. We should not jam all the growth in this stretch of road headed into East Waterboro. It is already too congested, and we have not planned accordingly to accommodate an increased density on this road. I read through Waterboro's future land use plan and economic development plan for Waterboro. It did outline the vision of each village and specified other areas and locations to develop commercially for public and private business. Examples, Bennett Hill, behind JD's, and up further on 202 and 4, as well as in central Waterboro and North Waterboro. To be mindful of the town's rural village, it also outlines that we need to be mindful of the town's rural and village aesthetics, open spaces, trail systems, residential neighbors, and demand on infrastructure. It also outlined that it would encourage development of all sizes and uses that are appropriate fit within the current zoning and land use policies. This part of the plan also outlines that the other locations like Bennett Hill, JD's, etc., can accommodate multiple building sites that are ready for development. So why rezone this area if you've already designated those areas for development and you've planned accordingly? You've already proposed this plan years ago to the residents. The residents are familiar with it. You've done your change management, and now you want to change it. And you have not done any change management with the town other than these hearings for, the developer bought a piece of land, they want to develop it. Your plan does outline, and not you, but Waterboro. So Waterboro does outline that the Waterboro plan does say that it needs to analyze for future growth and do feasibility studies. Yet in any of this, I don't see where we've analyzed where we need to preserve low residential areas within the town, and we haven't analyzed where we can add high-density populations outside of the already preferred locations that are already in your plan. So I haven't seen any study as where we can actually put population growth in the town plan. We cannot approve unplanned rezoning and development without a plan and look into the future. We can't retrofit it. Waterboro states it wants to build an attractive village setting and maintain its rural village aesthetic. Well, Waterboro is not walking the talk here by retrofitting to accommodate the developer's request to rezone. Look at the area you're driving through. It's already starting to diminish its aesthetic beauty with all the businesses that have currently been added. And now I'm hearing apartment complexes and maybe storefronts as well on this section of road. It's a small section of road. To add more to the section of land between Jellis Road and Hannaford would lessen the aesthetic appeal driving into East Waterboro. It is already looking shabby, like I said. A market feasibility study. Where's the need for this? We should be reviewing and updating the Waterboro's plan every 3 years at a minimum. It has not been done. It is old. So think about this. From 1990 to 2010, the population growth in Waterboro was 3,183. 3,183, that's quite a bit. But in the last 10 years, 2010 to 2020, what do you think the population growth has been in Waterboro? 243. It has gone down, so where is the need for this? Where's the growth happening that we need to accommodate this amount of a development? So why 3? Why 36 families? Average that over 3 years, 243, that's not a lot. Over 10 years, I'm sorry. So I think we need to step back, look at the plans for Waterboro, and figure out, okay, if we do this thoughtfully, mindfully every 2 to 3 years, it should be no more than 3 years that we do these things. Figure out where we want our growth to be, where we want our development to be, how we're going to entice people and market it so that people want to come here. And you're not going to do that by retrofitting. Somebody bought a piece of property, wanted Del Velvet, let's do it, let's approve it. We got to be thoughtful and planful, designate the areas, right down to the point of what you want it to look like aesthetically. And start working on those small things that you can work on now so you actually bring in people. So when they drive through the town, they see that you have nice walkways, nice tree settings, nice buffers, and that will attract them more. You're not doing that in this case. In hindsight, you can't even put sidewalks, pathways, other than to the hospital, which evidently there's going to be a lot of accidents between the complex and the hospital, that you're going to provide a pathway just to the hospital. So we need to consider Waterboro's long-term plan. What if these 243 people in the last 10 years we've grown? What if these apartments stay empty? Or what if they're not filled with the capacity to sustain them and maintain them? Well, what will you do? I mean, will they be pre-built so that future planning, from your perspective, if for whatever reason you guys need to take over the apartments, I don't know that that'll happen, but if it does, what are you going to use these properties for? Can you maintain them? Are they going to sit there empty? I mean, look at some of the places in Sanford that this has happened to. It's not appealing for growth in a town to see that type of building go unoccupied or to be used for other purposes that wasn't planned. In 2020, last year, in the whole year, from Jellison Road to the intersection of Hannaford, there were 12 accidents on that road last year. A majority of these accidents happened near Bennett Hill Road, where you want the entrance close to this apartment complex. Seems flawed if you don't look at what your accident statistics are. This year already, we're at 12, and we got 2.5 more months to go for that general area. And oh, by the way, Roberts Ridge has a lot of accidents, and so does where Waterboro Crossing is by JD's. They're actually higher than this, by the way. But still the same stretch of road you're talking about. So you're adding a lot more, not just one vehicle per residence, but at least 2 minimum, because people need to drive to work. 2 people work from the home, and it's Waterboro. There's not a lot of company and workplaces to go to in Waterboro because we haven't built that yet. They're going out of town. They need 2 cars. So you're adding a lot more to this one section of road. So it's being marketed that the village area will accommodate safe walking paths, safe walking paths to library, Hannaford, and other small businesses. How is this true when we're not providing walkways, pathways, road crossing safety? I don't see where anybody's even thought about putting crosswalks in at the intersection around the Hannaford. I don't see any of that in the plan. Turning lanes. Well, you guys already told me that it's too expensive to put in sidewalks and a turning lane going into this place, because then you have to work with DOT. This is not thoughtful, futuristic planning. We should have those all planned out if we already know what areas should be developed and how we want that village to look like and work. We should be invested in these things now to make Waterboro and the village more attractable. Start doing it now and being planful. We should not be putting the cart before the horse here. Green space. Do we have a plan for the green space? Will it be a dog park, a picnic area, a hiking area, a baseball field, tree growth space, which is without public access, with public access? What will be its purpose? Have you figured it out? Or are you just accommodating the state requirement that you designate a certain amount of land for green space? Because that's not planful. And then what happens when that property sits and nobody maintains it, but everybody has access to it because it's now public green space? Have you thought of that? Are you going to use pesticides? What's the runoff going to be? Who's going to maintain it? Who's going to monitor it? Who's going to protect the property? Who's going to protect the private landowner's property? There's all kinds of things that you need to consider when looking at green space. Let's see. As I've stated, the section between Jellison Road and Hannaford is a gateway into Waterboro. Why do you want to deter its appearance and make it more congested than it already is? It's like shutting the door before you even let people in. In business, there's a saying, go slow to go fast. Be planful when you make these decisions. As a side note, I would gladly volunteer for any planning board to make this town more aesthetic.
Anything else?
Can I make a comment, Dennis?
Sure.
I think there's been a little confusion about where the development is going to be. With all due respect, the last two speakers were talking about changing the agricultural zone. And yes, we are going to be changing the zone in that agricultural zone to meet density for the development up front. But that back 13.5 acres can never be touched because it's part of the density being calculated for the development up front. So I just want to make that clear, that that portion of the agricultural zone can't change because that land is being used for density. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Any other comments?
Can I comment that I'm not concerned about green space at all? In that green space, I fully am aware that that space is going to be green. It is the rest of it I'm concerned about.
Okay.
In changing it from agricultural.
Just to be clear on that, Steve Blaze again, Blaze Civil Engineers. We're only proposing to develop in the village district zone.
Right. Where it's been planned, which is part of the study.
Okay. Any other
No, I don't
comments?
think so.
I would prefer if you'd keep your comments and rebuttals.
My name
Yes,
is Mary Parker. I live at 9 Everett Road. And in relation to, because we keep bringing up the stormwater and it's been snickered about and said, oh, now we're going to have to do something about that. We are concerned about it. There is a brook that runs near there. It runs through our property. And I don't know if you pay attention to the news or not, but the big issue right now with a lot of water supplies everywhere else is these chemicals that are in the water. We don't want that in our water. We have well water. We don't have city water, so we rely on the clean water that we get from our land. If stuff's going to be filtering in there, it may not affect us. We have kids, we have grandkids. We sure would like to see them live a healthy life on the land that we've developed for them. And if nobody's going to be concerned about what might get into that brook and what might filter down in through to our land and our water system, then is it that it doesn't matter because we're just a few people? That's all I have to say.
Can you speak to Stone?
Anyone else? I would just like to remind everybody that what we're dealing with, some of the stormwater drainage issues, that if we approve a zone, that will be done when they have to submit to the planning board and go through all of that exercise, okay? We're not, we understand that will be a planning board function. What the request to us is to change the zone to a contract zone to allow the requirement of 40,000 square feet per unit to 20,000 square feet. And that's kind of it in a nutshell, but, all right. Steve, did you?
Oh, you said that perfectly, and also DEP will need a permit from them. This will meet all DEP standards.
So one of the comments that has played out a little bit around the community was from the last public hearing, and so I think we need an explanation or a re-explanation, and it's planning board's requirement to require a traffic study of you, but there was a comment made that there's only 100 trips a day. And so can you explain what the DOT regulations are that kick off a required traffic study?
Absolutely. Yep. So the DOT is called the traffic movement permit, and they start looking at the way traffic's looked at is trips per day, and apartment buildings, it's a little less. Single-family homes, it's about 10 trips per day per household. Whether you have one car, two car, that's the average as established by the Institute of Traffic Engineers in the United States. So peak hours when traffic's really analyzed. It's when everyone's on the road. So the peak hour shifts, it changes community to community. It can only really be established by traffic counts. But in general, there's the morning rush hour, there's evening rush hour. If you're talking about a football stadium, well, that might be whenever game time lets out. So in this case, we have, roughly 36 units. It's roughly 360 trips per day. 36, and this isn't studied yet, I'm just rough numbers, it would be about 36 trips per day. The DOT requires a traffic movement permit to access any of the roads they have jurisdiction on for 100 trips per day. So the DOT would not require a traffic movement permit for this. They would require our driveway coming in. They'll look at that. It's an entrance permit. But they're looking there more at how does it relate to other driveways? How far is it from another driveway? What's your sight distance? How far can you see to?
So, and I understand that, but I guess the confusion here is 36 units, 2 cars per unit, call it 1.75 or whatever, right? So that's, 72 movements going to work, 72 movements coming back, so that's 144, right? So, but is the requirement for the DOT or from the DOT for a specific time event, or is it on a daily basis?
It's it's during the peak hour. So they talk about peak hour trips. How much are you increasing the peak hour trips? Because that's when it matters. How many cars are coming through? Say you're studying a particular intersection.
Yep.
How many cars are coming through there? In this case, it'll be our project. How many cars? It's a model, of course. Could be counted afterwards, but how many cars are coming out of there at the peak hour? Whether it's 8 to 9, whether it's 5 to 6.
Let's assume that it's 72, right? Because everybody's going to leave, right?
Right.
So
72 would not require it.
So it's the MDOT number is 100
Trips per day.
Okay.
Per peak trips per day.
Okay.
Right, you just said it right.
Sorry.
Per day.
Peak trips per
Per
day.
Because I
day.
think that's what, and we've,
So if you have it per day, you got two different hours during the day that are peak hours.
Correct, yeah.
right.
one going and one coming.
Yeah, and.
So if you have 36 cars, 36 places,
Yeah.
and each of them have 2 cars, that's 144 trips a
Oh.
day.
A day, but it's the most critical peak hour. It's the governing peak hour.
If I may,
And
I don't know who's first.
You're talking about just the housing. You're also talking about 3 businesses in there. Are they going to be walking to work? Are the employees walking to work? Are the people that are going to be going there walking? That's adding more vehicles in the peak hour.
You're absolutely right. I'm fairly confident that still wouldn't require a DOT permit, but DOT is one entity that controls the road. I mean, the town can ask for their own traffic permit during the planning board review, absolutely.
Right.
In fact, I'm guessing you will. And at that point, yeah, there'll be 3, it depends on the ultimate use of these also. They are by right, the retail office space. Office doesn't generally have a lot of traffic. Donut shop, coffee place, a lot of trips in the AM peak. We don't see any drive-through scenario here. It's more providing space for businesses.
I think Stacy.
Okay, I contacted DOT. I spoke to them about traffic studies, what how they categorize the road. I believe it's a primary road. I asked them about traffic, what it can accommodate, what it can't, what their responsibilities are, what is the town's responsibility. It's a priority 1 road, which means it's built to accommodate the traffic we're talking about. The problem is, it's the town's accountability to look at their towns to determine if a traffic study should be done in order to alter the pathway of the traffic, turning lanes, putting crossings, so that when you're going from this complex to Hannaford, there's an appropriate place to cross the road there, because lots of people just run across the road, the traffic is still going to continue unless we,
Right, and
alert them to stop. So the town needs to request all of that to get that to happen. They just don't do it. And it's not their responsibility to do it.
And I guess we'll step back a little bit. If, in fact, this project moves forward, the planning board, that's their responsibility to address those concerns, okay?
Agreed.
Not
I'm agree
this
with that.
board's, okay? That's why we have a planning board, right? So,
The traffic report in the last 2 years, 3 years now, has been done. They've done it twice out of the intersection of Hannaford, and that's why the
So the stoplight went in and
the stoplight and the stop sign, they reconstructed the intersection out there on 202 going on to 5, and now the traffic stops. It doesn't have a yield sign.
it's supposed to stop.
No, you're right.
But that was
it
the,
doesn't have a sign.
but that's the
But we're just
That
adding more
model, that's-
population, more density, so it should.
traffic study there.
Vicky.
I just want to address the comment that the agricultural zone isn't being impacted. I think anytime you allow a different use in an agricultural zone, it impacts the whole town. We're very rural, and you're going to set the stage for the next person who wants a condo complex or low-income housing or senior housing in an agricultural zone, to come forward and say, look, I have this land and I have enough of it, so I can leave green space, and I want you to let me to overpopulate this little section of land.
Yeah, and I guess just so that you know, I mean, there's developments all over this town that have preserved conservation easements or whatever, that property might be in an agricultural zone. There are no buildings in that. They're using that density, right? And that's the case here, is that they will use the density from the back piece of this land, right, to accommodate additional units out front. But that property that's in the agricultural zone will not, I mean, other than they're using those acreage to increase the density up front. So that's the process.
You know, I understand that, but again, it's back to setting precedent and overpopulating.
Well, the precedent probably is that horse has left the barn, because most every development around that comes into town has some cluster development in the front end of the development, and the land out back is preserved, but the density, that stuff is used for the density.
So, I would hate to detract, but the developments that have individual homes do that as well, is correct, is what you're saying?
Yep.
The one that comes to mind is within 3/4 of a mile of this project on the lower end of 202 as you're going out of town. The cluster development that C&K Apartments put in, and there's several acres put aside for open land. That was a cluster development that was created years ago. Surveyor's out here shaking his head, and he might have been involved, but I was involved with the planning board at the time, and rather than take 18 or 20 acres and develop it, we saved 10 or 12 acres of open land never to be developed. And this is roughly the same thing that they're doing.
Any other comments? Board, anything from the board? We're going to discuss it later.
I have one question. Everett Drive or Everett Lane that you're living on, where is that located?
Down the Jefferson Road, about, I don't know,
Not a quarter mile down.
about 1/4 of a mile down.
Okay. On the left-hand side? On the Foot Pond side?
To the right-hand side,
Right-hand side.
Right-hand side.
across from where Elmwood is.
Okay.
Place.
Okay.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'm going to close this public hearing, and we're going to move on to other items on the agenda. So officially close the public hearing, and we want to thank everybody for their input, and we will have some discussion as the evening goes on here. Any announcements from the board? Okay. Additions or deletions, we do have a request to add under new business item 9E, which will address the quitclaim deed from the town to the previous owners of map 55, lot 42, and they have paid off their taxes and are looking for a quitclaim deed. So I would entertain a motion to add that as item 9E under new business.
So moved.
Moved by Dwayne, second by Dave. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. All right?
You could say.
I can,
Yeah.
are you all set with us?
Yeah.
For any, okay. Will you bring this up later in the meeting?
Yes. If you want to stay around for that, that's
You
fine.
can stay. About a half an
We'd
hour.
stay if you thought you had any questions. But-
Under appointments, we do have this evening one appointment with our CEO, Michael Gilpatrick. So the mic is yours, Mike.
Thank you. We have a consent agreement that was prepared for map 42, lot A190. This is an enforcement matter that's gone on for well over a year. we have some figures to take a look at and to come to a conclusion as to what the final total or the fine needs to be on the consent agreement. Back in January, back in May, we sent out a letter reminding the person in violation, or the building in violation rather, that they had accrued a fine of $7,800. And as they continued to mitigate the issue, they are now just about complete and are actually in compliance. So as of December 4th, 2019, they have accumulated $15,000 in fines. And attorney's fees as well.
Plus attorney's fees?
Plus attorneys, no, with attorney's fees. This is a total amount. The, excuse me, the individual in question actually had sent this board a letter asking them if they would entertain some manner of negotiation for the in excess amount of fines. I'm here to see if you folks want to discuss that, if we're going to just move forward with 15,000, or what the case may be. We're in a position where he is ready to move on. The house has been, or the violation has been rectified rather, and he's ready to close this matter out. He's been asking for some time, so I'm not sure where you want to, what you're...
He's been working with you right along, Mike?
He's been working, he started working with Glenn, rather.
Yeah.
Years ago, and he's been in close contact, and we've had several meetings, job site meetings, and everything is in 100% compliance at this point, and he's finishing up the trim work. He's getting ready to move on, close this chapter, we'll say. That's for the board to discuss, or...
So his letter says that he's spent, which probably is not unreasonable, about $100,000 to literally move this house out of the green belt, right?
Correct.
And I understand that, you know, and we have found out that the only way that we need a judicial judgment in order to enforce the $50 a day. Right?
Correct, yep.
So that kind of drops it back to what do we feel that our piece of this is. So
Correct.
I assume this administrative consent agreement was prepared by
Natalie.
our legal.
Yep, by Natalie, the town attorney. And unfortunately, she didn't offer any advice on what she would think. She's not gonna get into that piece, obviously. I was looking for a good out on this particular situation, but we're not fortunate enough to obtain that.
So the real issue is, what do we, I mean, certainly there's administrative cost, right? And we've had, I mean, we did as many inspections on the second permit as we did on the first permit, right?
Exactly.
The original permit, right?
Yep.
So, but the gentleman fixed the problem by moving the house. So, I'm not
How
sure.
much have we accrued in attorney's fees and administrative fees?
I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 we have considered over the entire time this violation's been going on. There's, of course, as you can imagine, there's been a number of correspondence with Natalie as to how we're handling this and what to look for. This property has also changed hands from inception. The original developer since forfeited the property. The original investor at that point picked the property up and is making an attempt to mitigate the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And that number doesn't count code enforcement officers' time.
Correct.
For research, and I'm sure there's a lot of hours invested in this.
There's $3,000 in legal fees at this point.
That's just your legal fees?
Correct.
Yes, right.
So you've got probably at least that in inspections and
anyways.
Yeah, and I have no idea how much time Glenn spent on this as well. So it's, this is a tough position for us to be in because of the transition.
To break even, you're about $10,000,
75 probably,
the original 5.
70. This is my opinion.
Just so I can make sure I understand the issue.
Yep.
The house was built.
Yep.
It was built in the wrong place.
Correct.
The septic was in the wrong place. The house is in the wrong place, the septic's in the wrong place, the whole thing's in the wrong place. He gets a notice when they're building it, while they're building the home. Hey, you're in the wrong place. Okay, building stops. Now he's got time between himself and his builder to have to negotiate who's moving this thing. So that takes time, because I'm sure that has to get litigated as to who's going to be responsible for moving this house. And in that time, he's accruing fines from us, and we're accruing legal fees on the back end with every correspondence that we make to him. Okay. With regard to, maybe this is a different perspective, but with regard to code enforcement officer time, we pay a salary for a code enforcement officer. We pay a salary for a sheriff's deputy as well. The sheriff's deputy does not get time billed for the amount of time that he puts into his reports and his enforcement of the law here in the town of Waterboro. He gets billed, we get billed for his service. So I'm not a big proponent of building in code enforcement time into a fine. I think if we accrue external fees that we would never have anticipated accruing, that to me is something that is probably reasonable. But I would not take your time and say, whatever you want to value your time at on $50 an hour and add that to it. We already pay his salary.
Right.
But
Nor would I. However, the ordinance states that every day that they're notified of a violation, that we can charge up to $50 per day for a fine.
With a judgment.
With a judgment.
Do we have a judgment?
Or a consent agreement. No, we
But
do
the
not.
consent agreement's coming now.
Correct.
The judgment should have come a long time ago under the old code enforcement officer. Okay. I mean, that's the truth, right?
We would have had to have taken them to court.
did they pull
Okay, we
another
did.
permit? Was there a second permit pulled when this house had to be moved and the septic had to be done? Did they come in and pay another complete package?
At the point in time that the property was transferred from one organization
Yeah.
to the other, they had pulled another permit.
Okay, so your wages were paid, because
Right,
they
well,
pulled the
wages are
permit,
paid.
yeah. It wasn't a cost to the town of Waterboro, because they pulled the permit. So what you're saying is, yeah, right.
Which Mike's saying is right.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. That's why we're here today. I really wasn't comfortable making that decision. No,
We do have a question from the audience.
I have a question, because this is a situation I've been aware of over a long time, and I wondered, was the original building of the septic in the house in violation of the permit that was granted? Was a permit granted for where the house was originally built and the septic? Who was at fault, the permitter or the builder?
For the lot, they put the house in a green belt, which is
Was a
defined.
permit given for them to put the house there, though? That's
No,
what I'm asking.
No, because they
No.
would have had a Class D survey done of this lot.
So when they found out that the house was in the wrong spot, that's when the code enforcement officer put the stop work order, wouldn't provide a...
So a house was built without having a permit to put it where it
No,
was put?
it had a permit for that lot. Where it was located on that lot was an error.
Whose error was it?
That would
The
be the
builder.
builder.
We do not verify lot lines.
So you don't have to get it surveyed and know that it's proper before you give a permit?
that was...
There's some logic, I'm just missing here.
Absolutely, and that procedure, because of this property exclusive, well, I'm sure there were others prior to that, but at the point in time that this violation was detected, the town of Waterboro had decided that we now will require what we call a foundation certificate, which you have to hire a licensed surveyor to locate the foundation prior to building and all.
Bingo. Okay. Oh, all right. I've wondered about this ever since I heard the first story. Thank you.
Okay. So,
And the reason for that was they might find 2 pins and not the other 2, or vice versa, and they'd put the other pins in, the landowner would, and say, here's my lot, and come to find out it wasn't their lot to start with, because they hadn't pinned all 4 corners. So that's when we started requiring a Class D survey or a foundation survey, whatever you want to call it, at that point, especially on the Lake Arrowhead lots.
yeah, because it's a Lake Arrowhead subdivision defined green belt that was violated.
Correct.
So he was not only in violation of,
Not even
he was in
violation.
violation of Lake Arrowhead subdivision.
Correct.
What would you suggest, Mike?
I'm gonna put you on the spot, Mike. I told you that before.
I know, I asked for it. The hot seat, I love it. I would suggest to try to, I would say somewhere's in the neighborhood of $5,000 to $7,000. Just to try to put this thing finally to rest. Or we could just simply go for the court costs. I think we're setting a bad precedence if we do that. Just to recover the court costs, because there's no financial penalty for, well, obviously there was some financial penalty for this gentleman as he relocated the house by 45 feet.
You mean attorney fees?
Correct.
Not actually.
Not court costs, I'm sorry, yes, Mike. Attorney fees.
Well, we didn't, from the beginning, we didn't go and get a judgment on this. That way the $50 could be accrued daily.
The procedure has been in the past, you write the violation letter, warn or detail the potential $50 a day $50 per day fine. And then at that point, if the violation persists, you inform the potential violator that in order to mitigate the situation in a timely manner, you institute a consent agreement. And at that point, that is when this document becomes viable.
And those notices were sent.
Or
You could have taken him to court.
Yes, and we still could take him to court and string it out for another 6 to 8 months and get a judgment that would.
If you can get a quit date.
Or longer.
That could potentially, or potentially not.
The first letter that I'm reading from the code enforcement officer here states, your only resolution is to move the house as you agreed and start immediately. Waterboro Ordinance, Article 11, Section 11.1 allows for a $50 fine per day, which in your case is in excess of $7,800. This letter was written to him when he had already accrued $7,800 worth of fines.
Correct.
So unless there's another letter that went from day one that said you're going to get $50 worth of fines, if we go to court and a judgment is passed and explains the process to this person, I'm not comfortable awarding this person any fine.
There is another letter that states that.
Can I see it?
Certainly. Certainly, I'll bring that back in just a few minutes.
Okay. All right.
If you'd like to, is there anything else with
No,
this?
Mike brings up a good point. So there's
Yes.
a previous letter to the one that we have.
I can grab it in 40 seconds,
Please.
it's on my desk.
Okay. While he's doing that, is there any public comment this evening? Oh, here we go. Bridget, welcome.
I haven't done this for so long, it's just like old home days in October. My name is Bridget McCallum, and I'm representing the Waterboro Community Garden. And I come with a request that a person who is a non-resident of Waterboro, who is a member of the Waterboro Community Garden, and who has been very active in the garden and taking minutes as recording secretary all this season, even though when we first asked whether she could be a member of the committee, and we're told, well, the charter says no, you have to be a resident. And she persisted in saying, well, I want to do what I can do to help the committee out. I could give you credentials that make her an incredibly valuable member of the community with life experience with community gardens, but it's not so much that. It's just that she's come in with gusto, she's done all this work, she's been a member of the community garden, and we would really appreciate it if she would be able to be an official member of the committee and not always have to sit back every time she's taking the notes and doing all the work and we take a vote and say, well, if it's got anything to do with anything serious, you can't vote. But if it's just about, shall we have a picnic next week, you can vote. So we would love it if that, whatever exception it's not a town policy committee, it's not a particularly, I don't even know that it's listed in the charter. It's a really nice committee to have in a town because community gardens are good things. And we would really like this very active person to be an official committee member, if that could be possible.
Well, we'll take a look at it. We're driven by the charter, which says that people have to be residents.
But in the section in the charter, the committee's not even listed as one of them.
A number of committees aren't listed, but the Board of Selectmen appoint those committee members, right?
Correct.
Just because it's not, if we added which we did in this case, we added Community Gardens Committee, right? After the charter was renewed, right? So those are the kinds of things that happen frequently, right? And we could add another committee, but the charter's pretty hard over on, now, how you conduct a meeting, I guess, is how you conduct a meeting, right? But I would say, there might be an opportunity for us to do an associate member or something like that. The Economic Development Committee allows two non-residents to be appointed to the committee, but they have no voting rights.
Well, we don't really vote on anything that's incredibly significant for the running of the town.
So
I could abide with that.
That might be an approach that we take, but I would suggest that you look at the bylaws of the committee and maybe come back with, we'd like to do something, but if it's a town appointed, selectman appointed member of the committee, they have to be town resident.
To Mike.
Okay.
Okay?
I appreciate your listening to my request. Thank you.
Yep. So Mike is back. This is a letter, a year.
It's December 16th, the original.
So 6 months prior.
That was 2020, I believe.
Yeah, the one in the, that's December 2019. And the second one that was written by Glenn came out on May 12th, so 5 months, 6 months later.
6 months later.
6 months later. So therein lies the $7,800, right?
Sorry, just to give the board an idea of the correspondence for this particular incident.
Yep.
This is our code file.
Just to build a house.
Just to build that house, yeah.
So, I guess I'll go back to Dana's request of, what do you think? You're kind of wide range from 5 to 7.
I would think originally.
Have we had any discussions with the individual?
Yes, and that was when we received the letter for a reduction. I would think that $10,000 would be fair? Because it's a tough situation. The town, I don't want to set an awful precedent here by saying, okay, then just because the code office has instituted a fine, now all of a sudden we can haggle with the office on the amount for the violation. That is, we need to be careful, that's not the precedent that we want to set.
No, but I think you have to have a discussion with the individual.
Yeah.
2019.
I mean, he sent a note saying, hey, I've put $100,000 into moving this house.
Yep.
I'd like to not have to, pay the $15,000, okay, but, so, I mean, I'm sure he'd like to pay 100.
Sure, exactly.
Instead of, but the fact of the matter is that we know that we've got, some level of legal cost because of the correspondence, et cetera, and I would agree. I'm not sure whether if you had a second permit, your time has been taken care of.
Well, then we could very easily stop the timetable at this first notice that's 73. And we could kind of forgive the last 6 months and allow him to go away with a $7,300 fine and legal fees.
When did he start, when did he say, okay, I need a new permit because I'm going to move the building?
How soon after you received notice?
That was in...
How about you do this?
Sure. Come back.
Well, this note says on January 14th of 20, which would have been actually it would have been a couple of weeks after he received that first notice, you agreed to move the house and settle it.
Correct, that was the original.
So when
When did he pull the permit?
When did he pull the permit?
When he pulled the permit.
And so you don't have to go through all of this. I mean, are we holding him up from selling the house?
Yes, at this point. We're holding him up from showing it.
So what if this went to court and there was no judgment ever placed on the fine? Would we expect a judge to go retroactive for the $15,000, the total that's here?
I think that's the judge's.
I can't speak to.
Right.
So if you know if you know that's the process, there's no judgment, to me, the government dropped the ball here. Like, we should have gone to court, gotten the judgment, that's now effective, sent him a letter saying, there's a judgment. Because the letter that he sent, the initial letter that, Dave, do you have it?
No, I just gave it back.
Okay, no, it's okay, Mike.
The original letter.
The original letter doesn't say that after judgment,
No, it
or
just says-
effective with judgment.
It just says that he may be subject to.
Maybe.
Right?
Right.
Well, those are the words in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, but maybe needs to be confirmed.
Yeah.
And that judge would confirm that.
Correct.
At that point, they was hoping he was gonna do something about it.
Well, that's the thing, but you're talking about moving a house that you just try building. How much money do you talk about?
The house actually started the process of moving, being jacked, and the footings were dug on October 28th of 2020.
So,
Takes time.
So there's a pretty substantial amount of time between planning, between December of 19
December of the...
and October of 2020, so you have a whole building
Almost a
season.
year.
Almost
Somebody's
a year.
gonna pay for this, get it.
Oh, no, I
I'm
understand.
sympathetic to that. Like, this didn't
Absolutely.
cost big bucks.
It does.
It's not a mobile home on wheels.
Correct.
Well, it's big dollars, but that's, as a builder, as a person that does a little bit of building, that's the responsibility of me when I get my permit to make sure I have whoever as a, as a surveyor to come and take care of that for me, so.
Okay.
That's Steve.
That builder should be.
Well, he is the builder.
I
That's the thing.
think you got
Too premature.
some feedback from us, right? But I think you need to have a conversation with him. I mean, there's no sense of us, coming up with a number and he's
At
going,
this
well, I'm not
point,
signing any consent order, all right?
I-
Consent decree and take me to court.
He was actually in this afternoon wondering how this process was going. I certainly don't want to be too rigid with this gentleman, but he's anxious for the process to move on.
So at this point, if I made a motion now for you to negotiate between 7,500 and 10 grand, that would give you workabilities, and if he wants to come back and negotiate with us after that, if he's willing to settle off for $7,500, I can make that a motion. If you wanna, and all we'll have to do is sign a quick claim deed, so,
Well, it's a
consent
administrative consent agreement.
yeah,
Right.
to that.
And I work for the town of Waterboro, so I
So-
will do whatever.
That's half of what the fine could be if he took it to court. So, and that would get our legal fees all back.
This is a consent agreement between the two parties, the town
Yeah.
and the developer, correct? So we at least have to have that conversation with the developer,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
That we're willing to move, right?
Yep.
Here's a number, right?
Okay.
And the number would be 7,500 if,
That's the board's pleasure. That's what
If we're gonna go talk to him, then I would start at 10 grand and say, here you go, it's two-thirds of,
yeah,
it's two-thirds of what it is, and
that's why I'm saying, but.
if you wanna do it, then here we go. 7,500 to 10 grand, I mean, I'm good with whatever you guys wanna do.
Go with 7,500.
Well, I'll entertain a motion for, I guess, any number at this point.
I'll make a motion that we leave it up to the code enforcement at this point to negotiate with him, but anything over 7,500.
I'll second that.
Okay? Motion's by Dwayne, second by Dana, to hand this over to the code officer to negotiate, and with a minimum
Not less than?
not less than
Not less than
7,500.
7,500.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 4-1. Thank you.
Would you like me to come back, or can I give an update on the septic system?
Want to give us an update?
It's done.
Let's,
It's done.
it's done?
It's done.
Okay.
It's done, and we have just one little quandary about what account that we pay the excavator out of, and there's been some discussion that the GA department, I think, was the account that was pulled from initially, with the idea that we're going to assess a special tax and get the homeowner to.
I mean, this is not the first time that we've done this.
No, but
So,
I had to ask this
I don't know how we did it before. Did we come out of GA with it?
Originally, it came out of GA, but I needed an authorization because the GA department was upset that when they said that's not my expense.
Well,
But there's a
it's
septic
not.
line, no, it's not, but the septic line is in that, in the GA. And that's where the other two came from years ago.
Well, we can deal with that, we don't have that at the meeting, correct?
Yeah.
We can do that later.
You can sort that out.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. I'm done with the bad news for today.
Right, so you're
It's not an
working,
easy job.
working a couple of other consent administrative.
Yes, that's right. I have 2 other consent agreements coming that are timely.
Okay, have a number when you can.
I will, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
They have a judgment.
All right, we do have some correspondence, treasurer's reports and motor vehicle reports are here if anybody's interested. Reach out to Laura, or you can find them on most of them on the website. Reports and staff initiatives, selectmen's reports. Start with Dwayne.
The only thing I've had is, I did attend the road review the other night. They could use at least 2 more members.
Okay.
So,
David?
None this week, this time.
Dana?
Well, I am the liaison for the road review committee, and I would like to be told when the meetings are. And then I might be able to show up.
We will make sure that gets done.
that's good.
Michael, anything?
I've been noticing a lot of signs around town of advertisement for hiring, like the small political signs.
Yeah.
And I looked in our sign ordinance, and I don't think there's anything that they're subjected to, right, in our sign ordinance that I can find.
No, but the political sign, I think they take advantage of the political sign, state political sign issues. There's nothing in our zoning ordinance. There's a state that covers the
Right.
political
This date of
signs,
this day,
right.
you can have your
Right.
political sign up.
Right. But, you
But
know,
they're all over, they're on public property,
everybody
on town
and their
property.
brother takes advantage of that political sign thing
Yeah.
and say, well, I'll mow your lawn, or
It's just,
I'll cut your trees, so I'm not.
I think when you put one up on the end of your road or on the end of your property is fine, but, I mean, we've had somebody put 50 of these around town for, we're hiring. And-
Well, certainly they can pick them up and, you know.
Oh, they don't pick them up, they've been
No,
up
no,
there
no,
for months.
I'm saying that we could pick them up.
I'd like our Public
put 'em
Works
at the
Department to
transfer
pick 'em up.
station. But
I'd like
it's
the Public
something
Works
that-
Department to pick them up.
It's something that Matt can have a discussion with.
I think you've got to be very, very careful.
Yep.
One, you've got some on public right-of-ways, which, can you,
We don't
the
have
question would
jurisdiction.
be, can you pick them up in the state right-of-way?
I don't
The
think so.
town, I don't
Say no.
think we as a town can pick them up in the state right-of-way. And second of all, if they're on private property, there's no reason to pick them.
No, can't do anything with those.
Right.
Right.
I'm talking about the ones that are in the center of intersections, you know, within the seven
And then
feet of the road.
The question is whether the intersection is a state or a town right-of-way.
Whose signs are they? Who's the company?
Well, the sheriff's office
Gotcha.
has put signs all over this town that they're hiring.
So what-
Well, as
Got them everywhere.
You
as
know.
well as Cumberland.
I know. I know.
So,
But I'm just like, how does this advertising work? Like, this is like free advertising on our property. We don't have a way to mitigate this. I mean, some of them get blown into the road, some of them end up as trash. I mean, there's no responsible effort to procure those signs after you've filled all your positions, but I'm assuming they're not if they're staying there for 7 or 8 months.
That's true.
so
How long can a sign like that stay? It's not a business.
Well, if you look at the political signs, they have to be taken down within 10 days of the,
5 days.
Oh, I know, I thought I noticed that.
It used to be 48 hours after
Used to be
the
10.
election was over.
would it be easy just making a phone call to them and we can talk to them and say, hey, maybe there's a concern of the number of signs?
Well,
out?
so, I mean, to me, the administrator would make that phone call.
Well, I don't mind,
I'm just saying as a
I don't mind
selectman,
calling,
I'm
but
asking that we think about what this looks like.
But you probably ought to have a list of where these signs are that
No.
are in our right-of-way, not the state right-of-way.
well, I'm just being vague.
We got people that
There's
work here that can
there's
figure it
concern
out.
of the number of signs, you know, but
Department of Public Works, whoever. I don't know who would be responsible for it. But it's getting ugly. It's not nice looking.
But it ain't up to the taxpayers to spend their tax monies to pick up these signs either.
Oh, they spent their money to print them.
No. Well, that may be on your,
From the county, spent the money.
Yeah, well, they gotta pay tax to the county.
Well, it's part of your tax bill.
I know.
Anything else, Mike?
No.
Just a quick update on our search for a town administrator. As we've mentioned here before, we've engaged with Maine Municipal Association. They are coordinating the recruitment effort. We did do a first round of interviews last evening. We'll do another first round of interviews later this week, and hopefully out of that we will narrow down some candidates and then go back to additional interviews. But that's at least where we are. We're kind of moving forward, but we're moving at certainly a pace that we feel comfortable with. So, but anyway, so we'll hopefully finish that up in the next few weeks and move on.
You knew he was
We took the time to say, I'm out of here, because they might peg me for a longer stint.
He moved quick, too.
Yeah. All right, we'll come back to him. He's got a short report here, but let's go on to item 9A, discuss vote to appoint a member to the Library Board of Trustees.
Take a motion to appoint Bethany Woods to the Library Board of Trustees.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? All right, let me just hear Matt coming back.
Nope, not yet. I heard the door to the
Poor guy.
Well, I'd like to get through his stuff before we jump into the next pieces of
you don't want to read
contract.
that one from the town.
Huh?
Public works, you
back.
better.
No, I mean, here we go. Here he comes. You're up, baby.
All right. You all have the blue paper there, so there's not a lot on the list, but I sent out an email today for an application for the town planner. I can print it for you if you didn't get it yet by electronic, but RHR will be here on November 15th to do some training for tax reconciliation, and then they'll be starting on the 16th with the audit. They'll be here that entire week. Public Works, you have the work plan in front of you. They'll be starting with the 25th of this month with the iWorks program for the software going live. I guess they did training today. And we did sign the agreement with Central Maine Power for this upgrade of the streetlights, and they are scheduled for the second quarter of next year. Library had a book, bake, and plant sale. They raised over $600 this past Saturday.
Okay.
I'm probably missing a few things, but
Back question on that software. That works in conjunction with code enforcement, correct?
correct. There's two pieces to the iWorks program.
But they work in conjunction with each other, so Mike can see what Pete's doing. But
I can't answer that question 100% for you now.
They
I
didn't
don't.
say that.
One of
I think
the,
so.
If there's they gave the example, there's a driveway permit request for a new house.
He could just zap it over to him.
He tasks it to him to go see it.
All right.
the biggest thing that Pete mentioned the other night was that they're gonna be able to mark and locate all of these catch basins and culverts, and all of this stuff will be on that machine.
That works,
Yeah, I work, so that they can sit here in the office and say, here, somebody's calling about a culvert, they can pull it up so that they know pretty close to which one ain't draining or what's backing out before they even head out.
I know they've been working on the back end of the database.
Okay. Any other questions of the map? Shirley's next, okay. All right, discuss to sign the ELVS, or the vote to sign the ELVS contract zoning agreement. And this goes to what we had the public hearing concerning tonight. And I just want to, let me grab it again. Just want to remind everybody that the request was from DMA, Building Corporation, request the contract zone district exclusive to this property in the town of Waterboro to allow a density change from 40,000 square feet to 20,000 square feet lot size, to construct 36 units and 3-story buildings, each with 12 units. And there's an enclosed plan, and that has all of the information with regard to the layout and the use of the property. So there has been a contract zone agreement that has been reviewed by both parties. Ours has been, the most recent changes to ours has been reviewed by our attorney. I presume that the attorney has checked it as well. So what is your pleasure here?
I'll speak up first. After listening intently for the last couple meetings to both sides of this, I think this contract is a little premature right now for me to be comfortable signing.
Okay, any other discussion?
I think the point that was made this evening by Stacy Walker, in that the comprehensive plan is out there, but that it probably needs a review at some point in the really near future. We're going to leave it on our website. And listening to that and the other commentary, and thinking about the way it looks down there right now, I have a hard time supporting it. Only because, and I'm speaking to Ms. Dalvis, because it sets a precedent that we could do a contract zone, but yet I'm not certain that we have the understanding of the citizenry in this town yet to know what they really want those areas to really look like. I think it's tough. I think the plan's old. I think it's probably expired. It could stay. You could revote it. But I think it's sort of old. And I would say that I'm apologetic for that being there, and maybe the citizens maybe having to rehash what they want those areas to look like.
What's that, Mike?
Yeah. Dana?
Yeah, I kind of have a couple of things there. I'm still not sold on your engineer's idea of the traffic pattern. And another thing that was brought up to me is the water. We haven't heard nothing from you guys about the water system. And if you're hooking into the town water, we have issues with the town water now, so how are we gonna supply 36 more places, all from one shot? So myself, at this point in time, I'm not in favor of it either. So.
Dwayne, any comments?
Contract zoning was put in years ago for just people like this, not to use that backland and to leave it open. I guess I'm one of the rest of the board that agree on the contract zoning, and I'm sorry to say that the rest of the board sounds like they don't understand contract zoning, but that was put in for something like this. And I could go on and on with a bottle about it, but I'm not going to get into that tonight because I've probably got a lot more history in that neighborhood than anybody sitting here. So.
And I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, Dwayne, and I do have a relatively decent understanding of the contract zoning. Dana brings up a good point as far as the water system. We haven't even discussed that at all. I'm just saying it's premature right now the way that we're getting it presented to us.
Well, the water is not as far as the selectmen go, yes, we gotta have concern with the water district, but that's not to a development. And I can tell you right now, there's a well, was a well, they tore it out, that sits up on the top of that hill where Southern Maine Medical is, that fed 5 houses and run a farm. And if that well can't feed those houses, I would, and there's a vein of water down through there, an aquaflow, as we call them, that will feed all of that village. If somebody wanted to tap into the aquaflow, it's there. And it goes right straight across this piece of property that you own. It's this side, 202 side of the brook running down through there.
You know, and the thing is, Dwayne, like you just said, I mean, yeah, that aquaflow is probably there, but it hasn't been proven by nobody. I mean, yeah, you're from the town that's been here forever, and you probably know it from the olden days, but, you know, it's to them, for these guys to prove to us, the planning board, the other townspeople, that it's there, that it ain't gonna harm the town water system right now.
But that goes through the planning board, not the contract zoning. You're looking at 2 different things here. In order to go forward, they need the contract zoning to be created, and then they get to do the water studies or get with the water district to hook on. They've got to have, just like any household, they've got to have room enough to put their septics in, and it can't be running off onto somebody else's property. They got a lot more studies to be done before they build the first foundation. But if you want development in the village zone, this is an ideal setup. And as far as we don't have, if we had somebody tonight get burned out of a house, we don't have an apartment to put them into, or get them into. If we had somebody homeless that came in here to the Nancy for general assistance, we would have to send them out of town because there is not such a thing as an apartment.
Never has
I
been.
didn't hear anything in his plan, so I didn't speak to the water district or anything. I spoke to the comprehensive plan, which to me is old news.
Well,
that's expired. So
it may be, but it's going to take 3 years.
Well,
it took 3 years the last time. It took 5 the time before.
Okay, but you're insinuating. I have to respond to this because you're insinuating that I don't understand what a contract zone is. I don't understand what they bring to the table, what this development brings to the table that we don't already have here in town. Now, if they came to us and said, we're going to leave 2 apartments empty, that way if somebody gets burnt out of a home, yeah, they can go in there and live there for free for 6 months. Well, that to me is contributing to the community. But I don't hear that in their plan. So what if all 36 of those apartments are full? You still don't have a place to put a family.
That's what I just said.
They're gonna
I'm not gonna sit here and disagree with you, but
I know.
the contract zoning, you really need to read that and
I
and
don't see,
understand it.
I don't see a benefit. It has
Just
to
because you was
benefit.
on the planning board for 6 months, doesn't mean that you know what the contract zone is.
I'm not, okay, I don't want to go
So-
down this road,
so
but I can read.
Yeah, we're not gonna get into this tit and tat yet.
Democracy.
There's a couple of things that I think that, I'm not sure that Michael's opinion of the...
It's my opinion.
I understand, that's what he said, your opinion of the comprehensive plan should be thrown out. A lot of meetings, a lot of folks attended those meetings of what this town needs to look like. And I think that in the comprehensive plan and in the village zones, they talk about multiple use facilities that have businesses and housing, okay? So I'm not ready to throw the comprehensive plan out. We haven't even got to where we've implemented those changes that were recommended from the comprehensive plan. So there's a lot more work that's got to be done with the comprehensive plan. State requires us to review it every 10 years and submit it to the voters, right? This one was approved in 2016. So it's not old news. I think there's a lot of valid stuff there, right? The other discussion that goes around, you know, we talk about trying to consolidate and not create more urban sprawl, right? No one houses everywhere in town. We want to concentrate those houses to certainly the village or the residential zones. That's something that exists today, right? In our subdivision plan, in those kind of issues, right? We had a proposal in here a few months ago about, you know, condensed area, right? A condensed opportunity that kind of came before the town or the planning board, and they endorsed it, but they lost too many lots due to wetlands and et cetera, so that it's kind of been abandoned. But to take and preserve property as open space, I think is consistent with the comprehensive plan within the community. And I think that's exactly, you know, the kind of thing that a contract zone is designed for. We're in the village, right? You're gonna reduce all they're asking is take the 40,000 square foot requirement and reduce it down to 20. So they can condense and consolidate the properties or the housing in a very focused area and leave the rest of that property open. So I don't disagree that it's not consistent with the comprehensive plan. I think it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And I don't know as I can agree that we don't understand what the people in Waterboro want. I will tell you what, and I think over the last 10 years, you had a statistic that we only grew by 400 and some odd people. So the same people that endorsed this comprehensive plan were involved significantly in developing the comprehensive plan. There were different, you know, forums that were run. There were different inputs. They took the senior folks. They took, you know, families. They took kids. They took all of those things, and that's what went into all of the work that goes into a comprehensive plan. So to say that we don't know what the community wants, I think is a little misnomer. So
I would favor, if that's what we want in the village district, then why don't we change the density on the zoning ordinance? Why do they have to come with a contract?
We could do that, all right?
Their density would be too high, that's why they're spreading this out over that back lot, 14 acres.
They can do the density down in the village zone, right? What they've got is I don't know how many acres here, and they want to take that density of all of the property and put it in one place.
You know, but that increases density.
I understand that, but
So why don't we address that in the ordinance?
that's part of, when you look at any subdivision, whether you approve a subdivision or not when you are on the planning board, right? Typically, there is all kinds of developments within this community that preserved open space, right? Bartlett Pines, it's preserved open space down by Barton Pond. Stonegate, right, preserved, in fact, there's a walking path in public access to Bartlett Pond. So those are the kind of things that happen all over the state, right, where they take large properties, condense the building into one area, and leave the rest of the property open. That's development in the state of Maine. The other alternative is put all the houses somewhere else, right? And you continue to spread the population out on multiple lots. And I don't think that urban sprawl is something that we want to support. That's why we have subdivisions. So I think, and I would agree with Dwayne, I think this is the reason that in the zoning ordinance, there are provisions for contract zones. And these folks aren't looking for anything other than what we've already seen in multiple subdivisions that may not go into different zones.
I would say that a subdivision is individual homes, though.
I don't
disagree. It is not one big erected building.
Some of them are.
I haven't seen a subdivision that's attached.
You've got one approved subdivision up on the middle road. You've got C&K Apartments, which is something else now.
Yeah, four units in each one of those buildings.
And there's probably 6 or 8 of those units in town here now.
Anyway, that's my put. I think that this has been kind of banded around for a year. First conversations with Gary, maybe. We know that it required a contract zone to be able to do what they want to do. They're taking a risk at being able to get the contract zone, and then they're going to have to go through all of the wickets that are in the planning board. That's part of the process.
There was 2 requests from the town earlier, and that being the language for the parking where the railroad bed is, which we said absolutely. And I understand why that's on top. And the other was to add commercial space,
right?
Which we did. That wasn't part of our original plan. I mean, if there's something that you might see that could help things out, that is reasonable without, really burdening the potential of the feasibility of the project, I'm open.
One idea we had was, I don't know, there is a land trust in town. We could donate that whole back piece.
That needs to stay in your parcel.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Yes, in order to have the density. It's a great idea, but it needs to stay in your deed.
It could be put into a conservation easement, whatever the case may be.
open to ideas so that can be a public.
So that back piece is never gonna be built on whatsoever.
Absolutely not. Can't be.
This is open to the public?
No, it's not right now. We're in discussions with the developer and the board relative to whether or not we will approve or not approve the comprehensive zone. So we had public hearing. You had your input. Thank you very much. Well, they're making the request of us, so.
And as far, and we'd also be willing to accept approval with a condition that a traffic analysis be done, if traffic is a concern. I think the planning board, my guess is they'll require it anyways, with the concerns that have been expressed. And same with water, if we didn't have enough water, when we got to that line, we wouldn't be able to build. We have to prove that there's water to, per the performance standards of the planning.
And I understand, if you think it's premature, but you can't, one step has to be done before we understand the second piece, right?
I don't think, I'm sorry. I don't think it was addressed, or if I even put it out there, that these are going to be 1 and 2 bedroom only. So the child factor should be minimized.
Yeah, I think originally you talked about 55 and older, and then that kind of went by the wayside, and I understand that. Other
I wasn't
comments?
taking that into consideration.
The child.
For schools, most
Right.
I think.
Any other comments? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract zoning for whatever the lot number is.
Do we have a second to that?
Can we add to the, like they were saying, as contingency to the traffic study?
Can do that.
I will add that to the motion.
So you would move the contingent upon the
Traffic
study?
study done by the state.
And then, of course, like you said, in peak hours.
Just to be clear, I don't think the state's going to want, they may not want.
They may help, but with the priorities that they've got as far as the traffic study goes.
They're right.
Because it's a state road. It's got to be done with the help of the state.
Right.
Yeah.
And to be clear, is that study, are you asking for it to be done prior to a contract or prior to a planning board permit?
Prior to a planning board, no, prior to planning board approval.
Yeah.
Which,
right.
You've got to, in my mind, you'd want to do it now before you make too many appointments with the planning board. Because that's going to be your next step, is to do the traffic study so that it's in front of the planning board right off quick.
Not also to minimize risk.
Yes.
So again, Dwayne made a motion. Do I have a second to the motion?
I'll second that, I guess.
Okay. Any further discussion? So the motion, to just be clear, is to approve the contract zone with the inclusion of a traffic study being performed, I guess, prior to planning board approval, right? So, any other discussion? Sensing none, all those in favor? Motion 3, or anybody opposed? Motion carries 3-2. So, you're all set?
Now,
I guess certainly you can speak.
I just am appalled. You just negotiated with them, came up with a different deal that you vote on without us knowing about it. We just found out you've been having conversations for 1 year about this. I've been researching minutes and meetings and trying to find out when this started. I found the first meeting July 3rd, but their minutes aren't all up on the website, so I'm struggling to get everything I need. How is it you could meet, you could have conversation for a year, bring us in, give us less than 2 months to do our research, and then when you don't have support on the board, you renegotiate and come up with another deal?
Well, I'm not sure that there was any renegotiation,
Well, that should have
right?
been in the proposal, and then we could
It
address that.
It certainly will come out during the planning board.
But you've just approved the contract zone. What you could have done is sent it back to planning board and let them talk about that.
Planning board had their shot at this.
So-
Just let me qualify this, all
Well, the
right?
planning board
I understand.
keeps turning it to you.
I understand. Planning board, at our request, made a review of the contract zone proposal,
Correct.
right? They came back and approved that,
4-1.
right? 4-1. We have had 2 public hearings now, one because of, the wrong piece being supported, right? I think it's very clear of what is in the contract zone, right? Now, you made reference to a year. Certainly, there are conversations that go on between the town administrator and the developer, or the public works department and the developer, that might be a year, 2 years long, right? We've had legal, and it's very clear that we've had both attorneys involved in this, David's attorney and our attorney, rather, to formulate the language in the contract zone. The language that's in the contract zone was presented in 3 public hearings, one by the planning board, one that we ran 2 weeks ago, and one that we ran again this evening with some corrections to the final document. I'm not sure where you're coming from.
We had 2 prior meetings, and I understand the process is that you don't have to notify the abutters until you send it to the planning board. So you had 2 meetings with them prior to going to the planning board, and the abutters being notified anything was going on. Then you've had, you're right, as you said, you corrected the contract zone, you deleted some stuff, put that out for public review, and we reviewed it very closely, and that's what you're supposed to be voting on, but now you're adding another twist to it.
We can put whatever condition on the approval that we want at this meeting, and that's what just happened.
Well, when you add these twists, you don't give
No,
the public
it's
the
not a twist.
opportunity.
It's a condition of us approving the contract zone.
No, but then I misunderstood, because I heard somebody ask, are you sending it back to planning to look at that, or are you approving a contract zone? And tell me if I'm wrong, they just approved the contract zone, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So you just told me 2
And
different
we
things.
put
No,
one
we didn't.
condition on it.
We approved the contract zone with the condition that a traffic study be done before they work with the planning board, before planning board approval. There's nothing wrong with the condition.
Planning board could have done the same thing and it went back. All we had to do tonight is create a contract zone on this law. And the only reason I added the traffic study was coming out of what was said here tonight, was that there was a lot of concern with the traffic there. So I put in that approval, the traffic study to be done to cover these people and to cover us as townspeople.
But why would, I understand that, but why wouldn't you require them to do the traffic study bring it back to you, and then you decide whether or not to approve the contract zone.
Because our role in this is not to determine whether or not there's a traffic impact or not.
But your responsibility is to make sure this community is safe.
Which is what,
And-
Which is why we have a planning board.
If you had that
Right.
study done and had it brought to it, and you were voting on the whole
So,
thing, that would make
listen,
sense.
we're not gonna sit here and debate, okay?
I'm sorry, and I appreciate you letting me speak. As I said earlier, I'm very passionate
The,
about this.
the thing in my mind is that road has got about a 5 to a 6 foot shoulder, and that's a turning radius. They can get off the road up there to get in. And 90% of that traffic is gonna go out of town. 10% of that is gonna go to Sanford. The other 90% of that traffic in the morning is going to go Portland, Westbrook, Biddeford, Saco, to go to work. If you set at the intersection up there and watch the traffic coming north and east, there's very little traffic in the morning. In the evening, it's just the opposite. But there's width up there on that road, so that the center traffic turning into the facility from Portland and the car going by them, not that you ain't gonna have a fender bender somewhere in that stretch of road because somebody ain't paying attention or putting their lipstick on or changing the radio station or talking on the cell phone.
Okay.
And that causes 90% of them accidents.
We're,
Seen it.
we need to move on, so.
Thank you.
So, we are, we'll move on to the next item here, okay? Under new business, discuss vote to approve the fiscal year 2021 abatements. You have a packet from Shirley Bartlett, and she lists that the homestead applications were found as they were moving the old homesteads applications from the files, so what she has is a list of those homestead exemptions that we are abating, or abating taxes for.
So, I believe there's 10 there.
And 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, I think.
I will move that we abate at Shirley's request on the 9.
Okay? Moved, seconded. Total amount of reduction in valuation is $198,800, or $3,059.56 in abatements. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Let's discuss voters.
Just for
Yep.
the newer members, in most cases, somewhere between 200,000 and 300,000 is usually abated in an average year. This is nothing outrageous. It's done every year, and in calculating your taxes, that's added into the bottom of it, so that if something like this happens, they have to take care of it.
So it's factored into the budget?
Yeah, you might see one more or so.
Yeah, that's why we put in the overlay,
Okay.
in the tax rate.
I did wonder that.
Okay, discuss vote to reschedule Selectmen's first meeting in November. That's election night. I'm not sure that we want to be in here, so if we want to meet the intent of the charter, we would meet, I mean, there's 5 Tuesdays in November. You're still tied up on the 4th Tuesday? So, might I make a suggestion, we meet on the 9th and the 16th? If
The
necessary.
9th is fine with me.
if it's necessary.
Just 2,
Yeah.
I mean, 2 weeks in a row if we.
So we don't want to meet election night? So we're
Yeah.
Because they're coming through here.
make it very spirited.
Yeah, we could,
The
If you
essence
wanted
of
to-
democracy.
You want it the 1st and 3rd, we can meet on Wednesday.
The 9th and the 16th is fine with me. If it's good with everybody
had a-
else.
comments, Julie?
This is the first I know of the auditors coming. They're gonna be in here on the 16th using this area, which I don't recommend because Monday and Tuesday are the worst days for that front office. And me too for doing the job, but what best path, I'll deal with that. But the 16th, as Matt has stated, your auditors are gonna be in here, and that's a Tuesday. And Monday and Tuesdays are the busiest days for the girls out front too. But just to let you
They're
know.
out of here by,
They leave if, as Matt stated, they're gonna be here all week, they leave all their stuff in here.
well, they can pick it up, right?
Well, why can't they pick it up?
Yeah.
I don't,
They've never been requested to do it in whatever the 10 years. They can put them in my office,
we can
but
put a table back there for them if they need to. We get that table. Maybe we can make it work, can't we?
you can make it work, yes, but I'm just letting you know that they were
Yeah,
going to.
if we meet on the 30th, you're gonna meet the
No,
following.
the 3rd.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's what I was thinking, the
That's
3rd
all,
and the
sorry.
10th.
Yeah, we can certainly meet the 3rd. No, the planning board meets the 3rd.
Yeah, same board.
Right, so planning board is here the 3rd.
We meet the 2nd?
No, the 2nd is Tuesday.
Yeah. Oh, that's the voting meeting, okay. Yeah,
First and
yeah.
Monday, right?
So we can meet Monday.
It's up to you guys. I don't care.
There's nothing going on here
Realistically,
Monday.
no, they're gonna have to have this all set up.
So,
Monday-
meet Monday.
Monday night.
So you wanna
so-
make that as a motion there, Dan? The first?
Well,
Monday
we just
the-
said too, they're gonna be
They're gonna have to
setting up
set
the
up.
voting,
First to
for
the
voting.
ninth.
Monday the 1st and,
16th.
They vote.
They
and
go through here and here? or-
Yeah, well, they go through here, right through here, so these
so we meet-
tables are gonna be moved back.
so we meet the 1st, Monday night, instead of Tuesday, that's all.
Yeah,
Okay?
Sounds
But we're
good.
still meeting the 16th, you're still meeting the 16th?
Yes, we'll
Okay.
still be meeting the 16th. So the 1st and the 16th.
I'll make a motion that we meet on the 1st of November, day ahead of Election Day.
Second
Okay?
it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, I'm sorry, 9E, discuss vote to approve municipal quitclaim deed on map 55, lot 42. This is the one that Julie
This is
had
it.
asked us to put on here, so
this is a tax lien that's been paid off.
Yes, sir.
And they're looking for us to give them the deed back to the property. I'll make that a motion.
okay.
Second it.
And moved and seconded to approve the municipal quitclaim deed for map 55, lot 42, and that clears up, 5 liens. So, all those in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, old business, none. Discuss to approve the minutes of the October 5th regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, pending decisions, we're all set with the week's action list. Anything you want on the agenda for the 1st? Let me know. All right?
When do you like to have those in by, Dennis? What's the
Well,
latest?
we published.
Friday before?
Published at noon the Friday before, so.
Okay.
So we can get it in the packet, you let me know and we'll go from there. Items needing signature, the contract zone agreement and the abatements. We did not do anything with the consent agreement, so we'll wait for Mikey to come back to us with that. And we will have a workshop here immediately following this meeting. So with that, unless there's any other official business that we need to conduct, I entertain a motion to approve
Second.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. Second by, moved by Mike, second by Wayne.
Who's first with it?
Mike.
Mike.
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you and good night.